So we've made it up to Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw, or just Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw, or just Hobbs and Shaw. I'm gonna get this right out of the way. This is just a really fun and, I wouldn't say exciting movie, but amusing. It's very, very entertaining to watch. There are so many great moments in just the first few scenes, like Hobbs and Shaw both waking up, going about their day-to-day lives, but they are very different, and I love the split screen. I love watching them do their morning routine, then go to interrogate someone for pretty much the same information, but how they go about it is very different. I love that moment a lot later in the movie where they have to go through rooms of soldiers, and each of them have to deal with either a lot of soldiers or just one huge one. It was also fun seeing Shaw jump back to the past and explain his plans and schemes and the names for them, and the cutbacks to them to him as a kid was hilarious. I have to say, this actually has to be the funniest Fast and Furious movie, even though it's not really a part of the main canon. It is canon, but it's not like a part of the main movie. It has nothing to do with Dom and his team. But this might be the funniest or the most well-written comedy of the Fast and Furious movies, because it is really funny and it doesn't stop. And yeah, sure, killed Han, but who's counting at this point? But seriously, watching The Rock and Jason Statham just throw insults at each other and comebacks was the best part of this movie. Which is odd to say, because all they are literally doing is standing in front of one another and throwing insults at each other, but that happens to be the best and most amusing part of this entire movie. The action scenes are really fucking stylistic and cool. Like, the main villain of this movie has the sickest, most, like, the coolest bike I've ever seen in a movie. Speaking of that villain is played by Idris Elba, and he plays up the hell out of this villain. He knows exactly what type of movie he is in. And he is essentially a super soldier. Because there's a scene where he literally catches a car with his fucking bare hands and nothing happens to him. He just throws it off of him. Yeah, that's what we're dealing with this movie. This movie took it to a whole other level. But you can't stop there. You have to keep getting more ridiculous and more, over the top. This movie also has a lot of really surprising cameos. If you didn't know, like Ryan Reynolds is in the movie, Kevin Hart is in the movie. And about that Kevin Hart appearance, he changes his hair in between appearances. Like, the first time you see him in the movie on the plane, his hair is a bit longer, right? And then the second time we see him in the movie, which is only like 5-10 minutes later, or however short of time it was, his hair was a lot shorter. And it's not explained. It's just he had shorter hair somehow. In regards to the villains, I'm very intrigued into who is controlling Idris Elba in this movie. Does this have anything to do with Cypher? Is it Jason Momoa's character in Fast X? We have no idea. I'm very intrigued into finding out what the hell is going on. Because between this movie and F9, a lot of stuff is happening and none of it makes sense right now. But I kind of appreciate that fact. I kind of appreciate the fact that they're, laying seeds for something bigger, whether it be to set up for Hobbs and Shaw 2 or the last Fast and Furious movie, which might very well be like the end game of the Fast and Furious franchise. So story-wise, I am very intrigued into what this movie sets up for later movies. That said, this movie seemed like a movie that was meant for something else. Like, it wasn't, the script for this movie was written as its own movie, not tied to any big franchise like Fast and Furious. Because if you think about it, this movie has a fucking super soldier in it. Like, that sounds nothing like the previous Fast and Furious movies. For me, it seems like they just added lines and scenes into the screenplay for this movie to put it into the Fast and Furious franchise. So this movie did entertain me in that I had so much fun watching Jason Statham and The Rock trying to get along while traversing obstacles and going up against Idris Elba's super soldier villain. That was all fun. The action scenes were very, very stylistic and cool, very, visually entertaining. Yeah, but that's all I have to say about this movie. I do apologize if it was unusually short compared to my other videos, because there's just not that much I have to say about it. It is an entertaining movie, and I do thoroughly enjoy watching it. In fact, I'll probably watch it again after this video, but it doesn't do everything for me like other movies in the franchise has. And it doesn't have to do everything. All it has to do is entertain me, which is what it did. So that's all my thoughts on Hobbs and Shaw. I will see you in my review for F9, The Fast Saga, or Fast and Furious 9, or Fast and Furious 9, The Fast... Can we please get our shit down for these Fast and Furious titles? Anyway, see you guys in that review. I wasn't even recording. What the fuck? Yeah, so it's not that hard to do the brow raise. Abnormally... Did I say that right?